In the heart of the Arizona desert, just south of Tucson, sits a massive glass and steel enclosure. And for some, this was a dream of human ingenuity. For others, it was a laboratory for control, confinement, and the unknown limits of human endurance. This is Biosphere 2, a place where ambition met nature, and the find-out stage began. At this human ant farm, 8 people sealed themselves away in 1991, embarking on an unprecedented experiment. For 2 years, they lived entirely isolated from the outside world. Every breath, every bite, every drop of water was managed, monitored, and contained within a man-made ecosystem. But what should have been a scientific utopia quickly turned into a cautionary tale because nature don't follow man-made plans.
Shadows drift and time grows old. No voice to call, no path to take. Just fog and fear with every ache. Souls in the fog.
Biosphere 2 was the brainchild of Edward Bass, who was a Texas oil billionaire, and John P. Allen, an ecologist and systems theorist. Bass, a reclusive oil magnate with a passion for experimentation, provided the funding. Allen, a visionary who had once lived in ecological communes, imagined a fully self-sustaining environment that could replicate Earth's biosphere itself. Hence the name Biosphere 2. Construction began in 1987 near Oracle, Arizona. The goal was pretty audacious, really, to create a closed ecological system that could support human life indefinitely. Now, over 3.14 acres under glass, they built tropical rainforests, mangrove wetlands, deserts, and agricultural zones. Every drop of water, every puff of air, every gram of food would circulate within this artificial Earth. Allen envisioned Biosphere 2 not just as an ecological experiment, but as a social and spiritual undertaking. His ecological communes emphasized group cohesion, ritualized tasks, and hierarchical obedience. Many observers later noted that these communal philosophies seemed to influence the structure and culture of the project, meaning it was starting to look like a cult project, like certain colorful delis, or maybe a tea company that we know of. If you want an episode on those loons, let me know down in the comments. On September 26, 1991, the first crew, 8 people dubbed the Biospherians, entered the structure. Their names were Mark Van Thillo, Abigail Ailing, Tabor McCallum, Jane Poynter, Roy Walford, Sally Silverstone, Linda Lay, and Mark Nelson. Each brought unique expertise: ecologists, engineers, botanists, physicians. Their mission, they chose to accept, survived 2 years entirely within the sealed environment, feeding from the crops they cultivated, breathing the air that Biosphere produced, and drinking recycled water. Yeah, you know what that means. The first days were a carefully orchestrated ballet. Crops were planted and tended, animals were observed, and environmental sensors recorded air composition. Humidity and soil health were recorded every hour. The crew followed strict schedules with time allocated for sleep, work, maintenance. Their meals were calculated meticulously using the crops and animals produced within the system, which means they rationed everything from the start. By the second month, oxygen sensors showed a slow decline. It was picked up earlier, but they thought that it would level itself out. It did not. Daily logs by Abigail and Jane recorded shallow breathing, fatigue, and dizziness. On November 15, 1991, the CO2 levels spiked unexpectedly due to microbial activity in the soil and some of the decaying plants. Crew members resorted to manually circulating air to compensate. Food shortages became apparent when food crops like the wheat, lettuce, and beans failed to produce their expected yields. Roy Walford, experimenting with caloric restriction to test longevity science, basically starving himself and everyone else for science, he alone nearly lost 20 pounds in the first 3 months. His diet was the basic plan for the crew, and the crew had begun experiencing cold hands, chronic fatigue, and mild hypoxia. It didn't take long for drama to settle into the project. In a journal entry from December 91, Jane described an argument with Mark Van Thillo over water rationing. Trust was eroding as crew members secretly modified environmental controls behind each other's backs, fearing mistakes by others would jeopardize survival, nearly self-sabotaging the entire experiment. By mid-1992, the Biospherians reported symptoms resembling depression, anxiety, and claustrophobia. Sleep disturbances became common. Sally Silverstone recounted vivid nightmares about the outside world. She needed to touch some outside grass. Days bled into nights under artificial light, amplifying their disorientation as well. Not unlike a prison cell, just with a bunch of plants and animals. Secret alliances formed. Abigail and Jane began privately tracking the CO2 levels, suspecting that external management was altering environmental controls. Rumors flew that Ed Bass and John Allen were observing not just the ecosystem, but the crew's psychological responses to stress, sparking speculation about a hidden social experiment akin to a psychological lab or maybe some old-fashioned cult manipulation. Their daily routines became rituals of survival. Crops were watered, animals fed, biofilters maintained to a nearly monastic schedule. Any deviation risked the oxygen levels or crop yields, increasing pressure and paranoia. Journal entries would reveal emotional isolation. Some crew members avoided talking to each other for hours, while others monitored behavior obsessively. This experiment was causing them to go full squirrel turd nutty. Oxygen had dropped to perilous levels in early 1993. On February 14, 93, CO2 levels spiked and caused dizziness, fainting, and nausea in the Biospherians. Jane described struggling to breathe during daily work in the rainforest module. Roy Walford's caloric restriction intake diet left him especially vulnerable. He developed anemia and chronic weakness. They found it difficult to do the work necessary with regular caloric reductions because they had to ration and leave every meal still hungry. Conflicts erupted over decision-making. Some members wanted to increase crop production aggressively, risking the soil and oxygen balance. Others advocated caution, and secret meetings were held. Whispers, accusations of sabotage would emerge, and it was starting to be like a season of Big Brother for scientists, which in fact would actually be the basic influence for the original reality show. And some crew members suspected that management was deliberately engineering these crises to study the reactions, feeding into conspiracy theories, both internally and externally, of manipulation and surveillance, both among the Biospherians and all the people watching outside. Private logs reveal deepening paranoias. Mark Van Thillo wrote that he felt watched, not just by the external cameras, but by the project leadership, which also reinforced the internal fears that the Biospherians were part of a controlled social experiment. After 2 hard years, on September 26, 1993, the crew emerged. Physically weakened, psychologically strained, they faced oxygen levels that had fallen 14%, crop failures, lasting fatigue. Roy had lost nearly 30 pounds in total, and several others reported lingering anxiety and sleep disorders that continued after the experiment was over. Public reactions to this were mixed. Media celebrated the experiment, but scientific critics highlighted failures in the methodology, the environmental control, and the ethical oversight. Lawsuits and internal disputes followed. Crew members publicly debated management's ethics and whether they had been treated as scientific subjects or partners. And of course, the rumors would persist about the cult-like dynamics. Some suggested that John Allen's influence and philosophy had framed strict obedience and ritualized behavior, making the crew subjects of a social and psychological experiment alongside of the ecological one. In 1995, Columbia University assumed management of Biosphere 2, seeking to apply rigorous scientific methods and restore its credibility. Conflict between the original Biospherians and the new management erupted. Some of that new management would include that vile tub of margarine named Steve Bannon. Allegations of mismanagement, interference, and withheld data led to legal actions. Lawsuits were filed concerning misrepresentation of the conditions, treatment of the crew, and dispute over the ownership of the scientific data itself. Court orders and interventions followed, establishing Columbia University's authority to conduct the subsequent experiments and manage access. Crew members and external scientists debated publicly about who had ultimate control over the facility and its mission, fueling continuing speculation about hidden agendas and manipulation. In 1996, Hollywood released the comedy Biodome, starring Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin. Though it's slightly exaggerated and comedic, it's a great movie. The film drew inspiration from Biosphere 2, parodying the idea of humans living in this sealed environment. And the movie revolves around these two just absolute dipshits, accidentally trapping themselves inside an experimental ecological facility to get their girlfriend's attention, and causing trouble in the bubble. While intended as satire, the film highlighted public fascination with the experiment, and some crew members reportedly felt frustrated by the trivialization of their very real struggles with isolation, psychological stress, and environmental failure. In short, they didn't like it. I did. The story of Biosphere 2 had entered the collective culture of America at this point, balancing between scientific marvel and a pop culture myth. Columbia University ran smaller, controlled experiments in the late 90s and early 2000s, focusing on carbon capture, soil microbiology, and ecological sustainability. Yet the legend of the first mission, its secrecy, isolation, and the intense psychological strain would remain, kind of like a ghost in a haunted cheese cave. Conspiracy theories ran wild with this one. Some suggested the project tested humans for survival in extreme environments, for space colonization, which, looking from then to now, seems very possible. Others would speculate that management secretly altered conditions to observe interpersonal stress responses, feeding narratives of a hidden social aspect to the experiment. And with allegations of surveillance, manipulation, and a cult-like structure becoming part of the mythology of Biosphere 2, seems very likely to all hold water. Now, despite the controversy, the project produced valuable scientific data, soil microbiology, carbon cycling, crop viability, and insights into human physiology under closed ecological conditions. They starve and their minds suffer. We probably could have figured that out a lot cheaper than they did. But despite that, Biosphere 2 still stands today as both a monument and a bit of a warning. It reminds us that even with the most sophisticated engineering, nature is neither tameable nor obedient, and it reminds us that the human mind and body, no matter how prepared they think they believe themselves to be, are fragile in isolation. And it reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge can be as dangerous as the unknown itself. In the desert near Tucson, the glass domes shimmer in the sun. Within them, humanity's ambition, resilience, and hubris are frozen in time. A dream of a second Earth, a controlled paradise, turned into a story of confinement, drama, and discovery. The lessons of Biosphere 2 linger in the air. Even in the controlled spaces, life is unpredictable, human behavior is manipulable, and the ethics of experimentation, they're never simple. So I hope y'all like Biosphere 2. It was an interesting episode to study up on. I didn't know that the movie Biodome was actually based on a scientific experiment. So, that was neat to learn. So, if you want to learn some more stuff, come on back for the next episode. Hit that like, subscribe, and share. Leave us some comments. Every bit of it helps.